We had a baby. He's so cute and so little. So we're gonna have to get a new bumper because we have to add little Noble. Look how sweet he is. Look at him, so cute. Okay, so I did a poll on my Instagram asking if y'all wanted a vlog or a blog, and about, I'm not good at percentages, but some percentage said they rathered a vlog. And it's a good thing because I'm too dyslexic to write out the whole thing. So I was like, let's do this.
Do people still do vlogs?
I think they do, but it's just too much for me. Like, who has time to write all those words? I certainly do not have time for that.
What is this, 1995?
Yeah, so we're in 2018, ready to vlog it. So what's funny is that we were planning on vlogging the whole birth. I wanted it for myself. Obviously, I was going to keep out like the gross stuff, but I wanted it for myself. But it just, things happened. So all intentions were there. I had my vlogging camera and everything, but let's like rewind to like how many weeks? Like 2 weeks before I started having like tons of contractions. So at 33 weeks, I had a lot of contractions, and so I got a steroid shot just in case it became early. Did another steroid shot. It was good for a good little while. At 35 weeks, I started contracting. Went in again. As soon as I got there, they stopped. So I was like, I'm just gonna roll home. So came home, and then at 36 weeks, 36 and 4, I was having contractions 2 to 3 minutes apart, and they had already been at home for like 2 hours. And so I was like, I think this is it. And turns out we went to the hospital for like 8 hours. I progressed from 1 centimeter to 4 centimeters, and then it just stopped completely. It was terrible. I was so mad. I wanted to have the baby. I was tired of being pregnant. And anyway, so the couple days went on. Like, I'm sitting here like bouncing on a ball, walking around, eating spicy food, 4 centimeters, and still nothing. And do you want to say anything?
I was just letting you tell the story.
Okay.
You missed one.
Okay, what?
The night before we went.
Oh, right. Tell them.
Sometime in 37 weeks and 4 days.
Yes.
You were having contractions every 2 minutes apart, and they were hurting real bad.
Oh, yes.
Yada yada. So we went again.
Gosh, again.
And then you were just sure that you were progressed.
Well, wait. So because they sent me home, I was like, I'm never going again. I'm not going until it's absolutely so painful.
Yeah, and this time it was. And then we went there, and she didn't progress
at all.
So we were like, we're going home.
Yeah, rolling out. But then, because of that, because I was actually feeling the pain, and we were there for 2 hours and I didn't progress, when I got home, I was like, I am not going to the hospital. So you better be prepared to have a baby home, because I'm not going again just to be sent. Because it's ridiculous. Who goes having contractions 2 minutes apart and then just stopping? So I ended up contracting until 7 o'clock that morning, but then nothing during the day. And what's crazy is the next day was my brother's birthday, and my mom had just gotten in town, and she was like, wouldn't it be so great if you could have it on Jordan's birthday? And Mitch was like, well, she would have been contracting by now if it was going to be on Jordan's birthday, so odds of it happening. And I was like, yeah, I probably would have had something if I was going to go into labor, but I stopped contracting at 7 o'clock. And so I was like, yeah, probably not. So 10:30 comes around, I'm putting the kids to sleep. Mitch had already put them to sleep, and I was in bed. I went to the bathroom, got in bed, and then Shepherd came out of the bed. And so I got up to go, and I like peed on myself, and I was like, seriously? I'm so over this. I'm tired of this. So I went to the bathroom, but I had just gone, and I was like, no way I peed on myself. But whatever, I guess I did. So I peed again, kissed them in bed, came back, peed again.
But the best part is, the night before, we didn't get home till 3 in the morning, and then I had to wake up at 6 for work. So I was like, man, I'm really getting some sleep tonight. And so we went to sleep early at 10:30, and
like
I was
10,
just falling asleep.
And so I went back, and I was like, okay, I feel like I keep peeing, but there's just no way. There's nothing left to pee. So I was like, you know what? This is probably TMI. And if you're watching this, let's just tell you it's TMI. So you're going to have to know I'm telling my birth story. So whatever. So I wrapped toilet paper because I didn't have any pads, and I was like, let me just see what happens. So I go and lay down, and all of a sudden I'm breathing, and I went, and when I breathed, I peed on myself. And I was like, there is no way my bladder is that bad. I can breathe normally without peeing on myself. So I was like, maybe my water's starting to break. So I stood up, and I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it definitely is. So I went to the bathroom, and I was like, Mitch, come here. And he says,
no, I'm tired.
He was like, no, I was like, I think my water's breaking. And he was like, well, it doesn't look like it in the movies. And I was like, I know it doesn't look like it.
What I said was, I don't know, because your water's never broken. In the movies, they make it like it goes everywhere, but I don't know if that's real.
Okay, whatever, same thing. In short, okay, that's not how it was in the movies. Whatever. And I was like, I know. But my friend Karis, I had just read her birth story, and it was very similar. So I was like, okay, let me just call my doula. So I called my doula, and I sent her a picture. And she was like, I think that's it. Well, when you're trying to go natural, you don't want to go to the hospital right away. So I was waiting at home until contractions started, and I'm laying in bed. I fell asleep at 1 o'clock. I texted the nurse, one of my friends, and she was there, and she's like, you better get here right now. What happens if like his head went down and sat on the cord or whatever? So I was like, okay, let's go. So we got to the hospital at 2 o'clock, and here I am. I'm literally like, how am I supposed to walk into the hospital with my water breaking? And so I had a towel between my legs, and he dropped me off to go park, and I'm walking in the hospital with a little towel in between my legs. I was like, this is so embarrassing. So we get there, and she checks me, and she's like, yep, it was your water, but you're still 4 centimeters. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. So all I could think was, oh my God, God is so good. Out of all the times that I wanted to go into labor and tried to go into labor, bouncing on the ball, doing all these things from my 4 centimeters, and it didn't happen. But then out of nowhere, none of my pregnancies, my water's ever broken. Out of nowhere, my water breaks, and it's on my brother's birthday. So I'm sitting here like, okay, now I have a countdown. Like I have 24 hours to have this baby, and I'm not contracting at all. And when you go on natural, you don't want Pitocin because it intensifies the contractions. And so I'm sitting here like, how am I going to get these contractions started? So I finally get into the room at about like 3:30 or something like that, and we're like, let's just kind of rest a little bit, just because we didn't get any sleep the night before. And so come 5 o'clock, I'm like, let's go walk, maybe it'll start. Still, I'm having contractions like every 10 minutes, but that's not enough to like be in like active labor. So we start walking around. I do my squats. I might have some videos of that. I hope that I videoed that.
I was too busy being embarrassed of you.
He was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing
I wasn't even looking.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, we get back to the room, and the nurses change out. 7 o'clock, 7:30, they change out, and the one nurse is like, listen, why don't you pump? And so I was like, okay, here's the thing. I looked a hot mess my last delivery, and I can't have that. So I did my hair and makeup, did some little braids. Mitch took a little rest. And so I was like, okay, let me try and pump and see. So at 7:45, I sent a text to all my family and friends and was like, hey, I'm admitted, but I'm not contracting, and so I need to get these contractions started, because all I could think was I have to have him on Jordan's birthday. But my labors were 12, 10, and 8 hours, and so I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna like be putting it close. So 7:45, I was like, everybody, let's pray for contractions. So I start pumping. By the way, if you are a pregnant mom and you plan on nursing, you might be eligible to receive a free pump. So I got this Medela pump through Aeroflow, and it was so nice. They were so easy to work with. So you definitely want to check that out, because who wants to have to pay for a pump if you could potentially get one for free through your insurance? So definitely check that out, because what I'm about to tell you changed my life. This pump right here, I started pumping at like 7:50. 7:55. All is well, everything's good. I'm just sitting there pumping, and my contraction started, and then all of a sudden I felt like a pop on the inside of my stomach, and I thought it was like his head bone breaking or something. Because in my mind, my water had already broken, and so I was like, something just happened. And the nurses were like, listen, come tell us if something happens. And I was like, okay. So Mitch comes in. I guess he had like gone to the bathroom, or maybe he was laying down, and I was like, something happened. You need to tell them. And so then my contractions started. It was like, oh my gosh, that hurts. So what did you just go straight out there?
You told me to go tell them that something happened. And I was like, yeah, she wanted me to tell you something happened. And they were like, well, what was it? And I was like, something happened. And they were just like, oh, okay.
So they come in and I'm like, listen, I don't know what happened because my water broke already, but it sounded like a balloon popped or his bone broke. Something. Either one of those. And now my contractions are like pretty intense. And so she was like, okay, well, let me check you. She was like, okay, you're 4. Oh my God, no, what? No. And she's like, but you have like no water at all. So it was probably an extra water bag. And so, you know, let's just see what happens now, because it looks like your contractions are starting to pick up. So I was like, okay, this is bad because this hurts and I'm only 4 centimeters. And my other labors were like 8 hours, and I don't know if I can do this. So I was like, listen, I need to go in the shower. So I go get in the shower, and I was like, I think it's time to call the doula, Kaylee. And so he calls her, and I call my friend Amanda, who takes pictures. And so I call her to come too. So Amanda gets there, and it's like 8:30, 8:45. And I was like, okay, I'm really having a hard time. Oh, I remember what it is. The nurse comes in, because when you're going natural, you can either get checked, like check the heartbeat every 30 minutes and then go do your own thing, or you can wear it all the time. And I didn't want to wear it all the time. So I'm in the shower, and Mitch comes in, and he's like, hey. And the girl comes in, and I was like, listen, I am not going to check him right now. These hurt too bad. So if you want to come check him, then you better come in here and check him. And Mitch came in after, and he was like, Ashlyn, that poor girl, you scared her. So they're like trying to scrounge together.
I'm gonna find like a battery operated monitor deal instead of hooking you up to the real one.
Because I scared them. And so then she came back in, and she was like, we can't find the batteries, but we need to check them. I was like, whatever, fine. So I like get out, and I'm like, just check me. And so she checks me, and she's like, I think she's a 6. And then she went and checked her chart, and she's like, no, she's 7. And I looked at Mitch, and I was like, oh my God, that's why. Like, those were hurting. So within an hour, I had gone from 4 to 7 all by myself. I was so proud of myself. So then I was really starting to feel them. Got back in the shower, and I'm like, listen, where is Kaylee? And he was like, she said she'd be here within the hour. And I was like, oh my gosh. Not that I ever thought that I'd have him, but I was like in so much pain that I didn't think I could do it. I just kept telling Mitch, like, I don't know if I can do this. If I have to go 8 hours at this, I don't know if I can do this. So finally, Kaylee gets there, or I get out of the tub, and Kaylee gets there, and I'm on the ball, and I'm now like, okay, I really can't do this. Mitch was doing so good. He was doing compressions until she got there, but as soon as she got there, she was just like, bam, and I could just feel it. It was great. So I was like, okay, I started, she maybe did 2 or 3 contractions, and I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this. I felt myself breathing fast, and if you know about going natural, once you start breathing fast, it's like you're in transition, but I just kept thinking there's just no way. Like, none of my labors are short, so I'm never going to be able to do this. And I was like, I can't do this. And they were like, okay, let's check you again. And I was like, I got in the bed, and they checked me, but I had a contraction in the middle of it, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. And I was like, I'm 8. She was like, you're 8 centimeters. I said, great, but this is too much. So all of a sudden, I felt like this super big urge, and I was like, I don't care that I'm 8. What I feel needs to not be happening. So I'm pretty sure I just started pushing. And they were like, oh, she's pushing. And I was like, oh, sure am. I could not get up because I kept having contractions, but in my mind I'm like, I'm only 8 centimeters, but oh well. So I start pushing, and I see my mom's like, wait, she's pushing, but she was just 8. And so somehow I had one more contraction right after that. And the next thing you know, I'm like legit pushing, and they're like, okay, there's the head, here we go. And so within like, so at 8:15, I mean at 9:15, I was 7, and I had him at 9:34. So I went from 7 to 10 and him out in that amount of time, 15 minutes or something. But what was so funny is that when I was pushing, I could feel his head like coming out, but all of them were just staring at me, and it was hurting, and I screamed, somebody just get his head out, could you just grab him, somebody just grab him. And they're all like, no, you have to do it. I was like, but I can't. They're like, no, you're doing it. So I'm just yelling at everybody, somebody gotta grab his head, because he's gotta come out somehow. But there was a point where I was like, are you serious? Like, there's no way, there's no other way, you just gotta push him out. And so I did, and I was so proud of myself from doing it. And this is this precious little thing. Look at him, look at that little thing. And what was so great, it was funny because they were like, look, he's right there, his head out, you can just grab him. And I was like, no, just take him, you take him. So then when I did grab him, like when I grabbed his little stomach, my fingers hit, and I was like, he's so small, he's like this little tiny baby. I picked him up, we did skin to skin, and he has just been so great. So it was crazy because it was fast. So in 2 hours, I labored for 2 hours, that was it. And I had him on Jordan's birthday, so it was so amazing. I would love to show y'all pictures, but because we didn't know that I was 8 centimeters, and then I decided to push him out anyway, we only have the other shots, the shots that are not rated for YouTube or for my friends. So anyway, it was such a blessing, and I'm thankful that my last baby was the birth that I wanted. But anyway, I know this was really long, so if you lasted this long, good job. And yeah, that's it. What?
My eyes on my nose.
Oh, you gonna be okay?
Hey, we're almost done, and I'm gonna come watch with you. Can you go finish watching your movie? We're making a video real quick.
You want to come tell them hello? Come see. We can't see you.
Sit here while mommy talks.
Say hey.
Tells her story.
Hey.
Show him your dad.
All right. Okay, so why don't y'all leave?
Okay.
Mitch doesn't want to do this anymore.
Let's go watch.
I got this stuff.
That's great.